Welcome back, folks, to the Get a Grip on Lighting podcast. Today, the starfish is going to make an appearance in the beginning. That's right, the starfish. But before we talk about it, we're going to tell you a little bit about Don Peifer. He's an entrepreneur, a lighting product designer, and a sustainability expert. He received his Master's of Architectural Science in Lighting from the Lighting Research Center at RPI. Peifer is the founder of Earthlighting and Smash the Bulb, and has a Living Future Accreditation LFA from the International Living Future Institute. In February 2022, Peifer was awarded one of the 4L prizes for the concept phase by the Department of Energy. It can be interesting to find out what that is as well. Go to donaldpeifer.com. That's DONALDPEIFER.com. But of course, Greg, let's talk Starfish from Satco, SATCO.com. The gangsters, what are they talking about with Starfish?
Well, Starfish is a product line, but it's also named after the founder of Satco. There's a great documentary Mike and I watched. It was a number of years ago now, but on the Starfish himself, and now they have a product line that's made for it. A simple, scalable, smart lighting solution that connects you to your home for an enriched, improved, enhanced, and enlightened life. They have all the general service bulbs, the string light, the power lamps, the floodlights, under cabinet switches, color changing, dimmable, all the fun stuff you need. Check out Starfish.
Check out Starfish from Satco. Go to SATCO.com. And of course, they are proud members of the National Association of Innovative Lighting Distributors. That's NAILD.org, Greg Garrick. Membership Drive 2023. 6 in the
Coming
books.
hot.
6 in the books, buddy. For January, what do we got coming in February with that? And the convention, too. Don't forget about that.
February starts soon, so we'd be ready. But yeah, we've got a lot of good things with Nailed. Convention in September, a lot of members joining, a lot of things we have. So be a part of it.
Donald, welcome to the Get a Grip on Lighting podcast.
Thanks so much for having me.
No
Big
problem.
fan of the show.
Say hello
You guys
to
are doing
Greg
great stuff. Hey, how's it going? Hey, speaking of Nailed, and were you guys part of that position statement that came out several months ago about how 10-year warranties were bunk, among other things?
Oh, you're talking about no, that was Brian Huff. So we're the managers, but that's the sustainability committee, and Brian Huff was the chairman of that. He owns a company in Iowa called Adventure Lighting, and him and his committee they came up with that letter. It was very popular, very well received by the industry, and I think, quite frankly, Donald, dead on, actually.
I think it was incredible. It's like, as a product designer, you wouldn't think that would be the kind of thing that I get behind, but it's I thought it was great on many levels because it was very readable. It was short, you didn't have to take a long time to read it. But it also communicated a real frustration with the current paradigm of where we are, and the industry's changed so much in the last 10 years. And I think what was screaming to me from the subtext of that is let's get back to doing business the way that we used to do business, when lamps met fixtures at the job site. And, I saw some statistic from when Genlight was bought from Philip. They were producing something like 25,000 new SKUs a year. And I was like, wow, that's incredible. That would never happen now. You look at a large lighting manufacturer, maybe tens of millions of dollars in revenue, and they might do 15 new products a year, and a lot of those will be just little updates like IP66 for a popular line or something like that. So I think everybody wants that. I think manufacturers would embrace going back to a place where they could bend metal and do extrusions and get a bunch of stuff out into the marketplace and have lamps that do the job for it.
I think one of the keys for me, and I'm going to be a little bit ruder in my analysis when I respond to you. One of the keys for me in that letter is that first of all, it acknowledged the lamp shapes, that how valuable the lamp shapes are, and how much innovation has gone into lamp shapes. I mean, I would say that most of the deployed successful innovations, enduring innovations in lighting, are LEDs made into lamp shapes, actually, that are going to endure into the future. And then it talked about, we still, yes, the possibilities of LED do offer a lot more things than just lamp shapes. But then also maybe think about, bringing the lamp shapes into 2023 with with some mechanical form factor standardization. I thought that was very, very, poignant point that, I mean, I know Jaga has taken a stab at it over in Europe, and, I'm not going to say that I don't know what their goal was, but seriously, we're wasting so much innovation on the size of mechanical form factors every time somebody makes a light fixture. It's ridiculous. But, when it comes to the sustainability piece, most people are talkers, actually. They don't know what the hell they're talking about, and they're just throwing around words. And it's particularly bad in the lighting industry, Greg Eric. And so I think what what that letter did was kind of set people straight a little bit about what it means from the front lines, from the trenches, from people who sell light bulbs every day, people who do lighting projects and have to recycle fluorescent bulbs on the way out and all this sort of stuff. And I felt like timing was perfect and 100% right. So that's my thoughts on that, Donald. There.
Yeah, I think it's great. And I actually, I met it halfway as a product designer. That kind of became a catalyst for me thinking about, all right, so what can I do to facilitate what they're saying? And my instinct was, let's go back to the lamps themselves, which I think are kind of imitating the past paradigm of fluorescent lighting. And
Mm-hmm.
what can we do with these TLEDs in effect
Mm.
to be able to keep something like a tombstone, which is, we've wrestled the cost of the ground on that. It's like a $1 item. It's got UL certification. You're just good to go. You can easily put it into a form factor. But as far as the TLED is concerned, I'm looking at that and I've deconstructed some, and man, it's really hard to break into these. I took a little hacksaw and tried to go really carefully and like get into, and I was destroying the thing. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to create a completely refurbishable lamp, TLED lamp, where that employs snap fits, uses a reground plastic for end caps, and has everything's toolless. So basically, you can bring this thing back at the end of life and downcycle the LEDs into a different application. I just wrote an article about downcycling as an example, and I tried to, basically start a conversation where saying we got to prioritize certain applications, like take healthcare lighting, for example. Like that's really important to have strict minimum requirements for illumination. Like somebody might go into cardiac arrest in the middle of a hallway, and you have to be able to triage and understand what's going on and be able to see. So that's like
Mm-hmm.
priority number one as far as like applications and lighting. But then you get into residential lighting, and you get into appliance lighting, and you get into all these different variations on the theme. And you can take these LED strips out of what would be a healthcare lighting at 80% life, for example, if they send them back and put it into a new stream. So I like what Jaga's doing. I like what a lot of the consortiums are doing when they're thinking about standardization. I just think we have to like up the game on standardization. If you look at the Jaga board, for example, it's a beast. It's like 17 millimeters wide. And it's got these big Wagos on it, so I can't put an optic on it because it's going to crash with the design. There's lots of resistors and stuff like that. So I think, going to a
I've always
2.0.
envisioned a ginormous catalog full of pre-made LED strips that you would
I
pick
love
from.
that.
You know what
I
I
love
mean?
that
It's like
because
different sizes, but it's like you're now. Oh, you want to do the? It's like a good example of this. A good place to start would be like tape light. What are the tape light guys doing? How are they? Are they stand? Is there any standardization going on there? And see what the tape light guys are up to. Because what they're doing is so tape light is like a assembled, right? Tape light's a field
right.
assembled lighting system, like track lighting, tape lighting, the same thing. You're kind of assembling it on site, right? And what do they have? They have these channels, all these different sizes of channels and types, and L connectors and Y connectors and T connectors and X connectors and all this kind of stuff that they have. The tape light guys, and to look at that, not as that you're going to do that, but look at that in terms of what accessories do we actually need. What do we need to standardize these form factors? Because the tape light guys are kind of doing it for the field assembled. But you're talking about factory assembled lighting components to build light fixtures with. What a waste of time to be spending designing those. That should be something that some company has a catalog of. Yes, okay, I want to buy, you know what, this one looks kind of neat, and or I mean catalog online, whatever you want, but where you could scroll through various types of LED strips, like what are we waiting for?
I love that because you have like different characteristics. Like some projects might require or might require high performance. One might be, you know, white tunable. Somebody might want really high efficacy, for example. So in a situation like that, and they might not care about cost, but they really want that high efficacy. So you could just put a bunch of LEDs back to back, underdrive the crap out of them, and have this really high efficiency light source. And then
And
you can have
tape
your
lighting
regulation
is the
audio.
model. So tape lighting would be the model. Like if a manufacturer of LED chips wanted to do this, they just have to go and look at how, like Elemental LED, for example, a great nailed member, Greg. Go to their
Hmm.
website and look at all the different accessories they have and how they're laying it all out. And it's like, okay, you're not going to do field assembled. I get it. But look at all the different channels and angle connectors and 45 degrees and right angle, like across the tape, right angle backwards, right angle sideways. You know what I'm saying? All these different types of connectors and tape light, and you're going to see that there is a blueprint for offering the same thing to fixture manufacturers, so they don't have to make their own form factors.
Yeah, I love that idea. And you can also your customers can choose. I remember early on in the LED days, there was, I forget which company it was. I think it was out of Canada somewhere. And they were acquired. Shoot, I'm forgetting what the name of it is. But they said, "Hey, do you want Cree LEDs? You want Nichia LEDs?
Mm,
You
mm,
choose. We'll put these different things in." So I
Sure.
like the idea of giving the customers the idea if they have a Nichia rep that's come in and said, "Look, this is what's great about our product," and they're like, "We love that. But we just want to go with this other lighting company and they don't use Nichia." This gives an opportunity to potentially do that.
Now, you mentioned early days of LED, and I'm going to change the gear a little just because I was looking on your website, Don, and you founded Lunera,
Yeah, I
Lunera.
was one of the founders of Lunera. Back in
Okay. Are you familiar?
2006, I
Hmm.
started that.
2006. Yeah, that was a very popular. It's gone now, and it looks like you might have left
Yeah.
before it left. But give us that story. 2006. What were you doing?
So I just graduated from the Lighting Research Center. I was doing some lighting design on my own. I did a Nike store in New York City, and it was everybody was saying that LEDs weren't ready for regular application. It was just going to be like nichey, and I
mm.
thought you could attack with numbers. So that became kind of the catalyst for creating. I created the flagship product was a 2x2 panel, and we raised venture capital in the middle of the subprime mortgage crisis. We landed a $15 million Series A deal in April of 2008, right when that stuff was happening, and we were off to the races. We did. I was able to get the Apple retail um, uh, contract. So we were doing a bunch of Apple stores and also trying to roll out, you know, linear lighting for LEDs. It was it was really hard. I mean, early days of LEDs, you had to really dump on a bunch of phosphor to affect emission. And as a result, you had like these really inefficient, super expensive devices of these LEDs. Plus, there was all these thermal issues, so you had to be really careful with everything. And it just seems like a different lifetime ago compared to today. But yeah, so when I vested, so you have like a 3-year cliff when you raise money. After I vested, I left the company because they were moving into lamps and getting into a different part of the supply chain. I didn't think I could drive as much value, but I just learned a tremendous amount. It was it was like boot camp. It just never stopped.
Yeah. So you guys were you guys the first flat panel on the market? You know?
I think we might have been, yeah. It was really, it was definitely the first flat panel that could be a one-to-one replacement. So that was the whole idea was, I was working up I wasn't working there, but I was going to the Lighting Research Center and using the Black Lab and just testing out all these different optics to try to get this intensity distribution that would allow kind of press the bottom of the beam and get it fat and get out, spread out and be able to have like good spacing criteria so that you could do 10 by 10 spacings without having these, really poor max min um, illumination ratios. So that was, yeah, it was incredible. And that first product it was like 300 LEDs, all four sides. It weighed 18 pounds. Instead of using 4 millimeter light guides, we were using 8 millimeter light guides. So there was like deflection issues. It was a beast. I mean, just incredible. And it costs like the disty net on it was something like $400. So yeah, we've really come a long way since then.
Yeah. So after Lunera, where you it looked like I saw your LinkedIn profile a little bit, but you bounced around to different lighting companies. You left lighting for a while. Now you're back. Give us a timeline,
No,
maybe a brief
I've been
version.
in lighting the whole time. I've been
Okay.
consulting, and then I did a 1 year project with Sora for it was a circadian working with the Zerklite guys, and that was fascinating. But after working with them for a year, I started in with Sora. I worked with them in marketing, and then I started moving around the industry in different positions. I was a VP of innovation at Acuity Brands, and then I was a creative director for the ground lighting sector. And since then, I've been getting back into consulting and did this L Prize thing. So that was that was interesting because it's a lot of work and it's a sprint, and I'm sprinting still right now, trying to get everything ready for the second phase, which is coming up. But
Yeah. No, tell us
it's
about
good.
that.
It's good
He's
stuff. I
he's
mean, the
gonna
L
win the
Prize
million
committee.
bucks. You're gonna win the $1,000,000. Or what is it?
I don't know. See, I'm going to need partners for that part because that's the
Huh.
third level, and that's like a full installation where it's going to be, you know, room size and really be able to kick the tires on this thing. But I got to take my hat off to the people from the L Prize organizers, because what they've done is they've in effect created like this perfect market requirement document for a product of the future, and it's thorough and it's intense. I mean, the technical documentation alone is it's a lot. So you really have to jump through a lot of hoops, and you have to have Jaga compliant connectivity, D4I drivers. There's a diversity and equity component to it. Circular economy requirements. I mean, all this stuff for if it's just me working on this, so it's a lot, but it's a lot of too. And the product that went in for, I'm not doing the same product that I won for the conceptual design for the second phase, which is the prototype phase coming up in May. But I'm really happy with it. I'm actually working with the Lighting Research Center. They commissioned me to create this product that would be, in effect, um, a perfect example of what 3D printing can do versus traditional manufacturing. And a lot of it is around like second operations and hogging things out. And, when you look at the waste hierarchy, the number one thing you want to do is strategy is to use less. So, this thing's got tons of holes in it, and I'm really excited about it. So, now it's just a matter of like getting it done, and I have to get it ELM 79 tested, so that's like a month of waiting, and it's expensive too. So
I like the idea. It's got
but
tons of holes in it.
it it does. I'll walk you through if you guys want to
Sure.
see. I
Yeah.
Go
can
for it.
Yeah.
share
Yeah,
Let's
go
hear
for
it.
it.
screen.
Yeah.
Throw it up there.
Absolutely.
Let's-
Yeah.
It's got
Let me see
tons
if
of
I can.
holes in it. Great.
Ah.
I think he might mean literally holes. I don't know.
I
We'll see
know.
though.
I know. Okay. Let's
This
see.
is the original L Prize. I should go to slideshow. Yeah, so this was the original design, and one of the reasons I did it was because I was worried about what I saw was a bunch of
We're looking at
efficiency
a
gains with the
graph. We're looking at a graph
yeah.
in a PowerPoint. Okay, making sure for the
So
listeners out
what
there.
I was
There's a red
this
line
is like
crossing a blue line right now is what we see for all the people listening, which is like 90%. So
what I was seeing was
I'm
that
gonna
the
play by play it, okay, a little bit, Donald, as we go along,
dis,
okay? Yeah.
yeah, despite the improvements that we're getting on in a device level for LEDs, we're kind of plateauing in the applications as far as lighting power density and things like that. So one of the reasons I saw was that, fixtures were getting smaller, and as a function of getting smaller, they had to like bring this uplight down into the frame to avoid any direct viewing from people below. But as a result, what happened was when you push that uplight down, your peak candela angle gets higher. But if you look at like if you want to go from with LEDs right now, we're looking at linear LED formats that are the same as fluorescent. When fluorescent semi-indirect fluorescent were around, they were on 16-foot spacings. Today, if you look at linear suspended LED systems, they're on 16-foot spacings, and a lot of that is because of the angles. So what I did was I created this perfect uplight angle, and I'll be actually doing a presentation on this at Leducation. And it gave perfect uniformity in the application and on the ceiling. So that became the catalyst for the first L prize, was how do I create this distribution and what kind of a package do I put it in? So this is an example of how
Can you
form
show us a
follows
picture of the
function.
fixture? Right now, we just see
Yeah.
like an operating
So this was the
slideshow.
original.
Yeah. So put it on a slideshow. Put it on the
So this
slide
is
though.
one.
Put it on present. Because right now we
Oh, you
just
can't
see
see
like,
it?
yeah, we're seeing like all the slides as if it were on the back. Can you present it? Can you
Oh,
press
get out
present?
of here! Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
See
Give
if
me
you
a
can
second.
present it. Yeah.
We'll have to do a take two or something. No, it's not working.
Oh, okay.
There's something.
Too bad.
Blue.
All right, now we can see the fixture to a male and a female end in blue. Yes.
Yeah. So this became like this. The first L prize. So the concept win was about creating this level 3 solution. So I basically took a level 2 solution, which would be the PCB and the LEDs, and added an optic that was on site. And what that did was it allowed me to, with easy connectivity, so to be able to go in room side and just change those out if you wanted to and swap them out. And the idea was to be able to like mitigate the need. If you created a certain geometry in the fixture type itself, you could avoid all the critical glare angles and have cutoffs, but be able to do this without an optic. So, the final fixtures started to look something like this. But the other side of it was I was thinking about it from a standpoint of, so there was the fixture itself, but then I thought about 3D printing farms that basically landed on the job site, because one of the things I heard from my friends who are in the construction industry is that they're always waiting on the lighting. So the idea was to take a shipping container and outfit it with a bunch of 3D printers. And one of the things I started seeing was that there was these really cheap Chinese 3D printers that were using these standard extruders, and I thought of a way to outfit a shipping container with a series of racks. And I borrowed from the mobile racking systems that are out there now in industrial applications, and did a scenario where you could basically add 33% more computers, 3D printers into this mobile racking system. So that was another facet of the L Prize. But so for the second one, when I'm talking about these holes, one of the things that I created was this what I call a sparkle louver. When I was at the Lighting Research Center, there was a professor named Yukio Akashi who created something called a sparkle element, and he said that there was between the point of discomfort and being merely bright, there's an area called sparkle. And what they did with that was they created this little sparkle element and they put it on the bottom of troffers. And what was interesting about it is that you into perceptually into thinking that it was just as bright in the room, but you could dim the lights by up to 50% once you had the sparkle element in. So this new version is basically an homage to the sparkle element, but it's doing it instead of adding something else that you have to energize. I wanted to start hogging out this louver, which, I hate traditional louvers anyways because they just suck so much light out, and really give you a penalty for fixture efficiency. So I started creating the sparkle louver, and one of the things we realized was, when working with the LRC and the 3D printing consortium, is that, this is a product that you just couldn't make with traditional manufacturing. I mean, you could CNC machine it, but it would be super expensive and you might not even be able to do that. So that was how we got started on going down that road.
Now, I'm just going to jump in here and say, like, take off the screen share so that we can see you for the video. And then what you're going to do is you can send some files to Scott after, and he'll edit them in. If you want a picture in there, you can do that. Cool. And because the people watching are staring at an open shipping container.
That sucks.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So
that's
the listeners don't care, but yeah.
Take two.
So the value of the L prize, as something to motivate innovation in the lighting industry, or I don't think it's just I don't know if it's just the lighting industry. I think other people participate in the L prize from outside the lighting industry too, actually. But that I think it's PN&L along with the Department of Energy that kind of does that. And are these things valuable? Do they create innovation? Is it worthwhile?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Big time. Yeah, because the industry's super conservative. It takes to the point of why you would Sustainability Committee would create a position statement. It's out of sheer frustration at how slowly things go. So one of the things that I love about this L Prize is that it says, look, if we could do this, we can seed the market with products that are going to help us leapfrog. It takes, at least the North American lighting industry, it takes them a long time to catch up on something. Product cycles are somewhere in the neighborhood of 18 months to 2 years. And, we're in a position now through sustainability and through performance and all these other factors that we need to go quicker, I think. And this does create an opportunity where we can go faster through and get stuff out there that, companies either have to react to or they can join on and do licensing. And from my perspective is if the prototype phase, if I'm able to be a winner in that phase, I feel an obligation just because it's paid for by taxpayers to make it open source and give it away for free and say, let's move on and go faster. Have everybody take advantage of it.
Yeah, Greg, I know you want to jump in, but just on that piece of the sustainability, there's so much momentum in the other direction. And it's the same thing with the darkness restoration, night preservation, and dark skies. Sometimes I get discouraged, actually. Just it's so difficult to stop the momentum of white light. Whiter the better, the brighter the better. The less components that are replaceable, the better. The cheaper, the better. Like there's so much momentum in the market, Greg, Eric, and Don Peifer behind this. It's almost like a beast. Like even the incentive programs that we have are totally designed to rip out anything that's modular and replaceable and put something that's not that has no replaceable parts in its place. That's for outdoor lighting, for troffers, for everywhere. Greg, how do we get out of this? I'm going to throw it back to Don in a second, but Greg, there's so much momentum in the other direction. And here we have Don Peifer working away at the L price trying to say, hey, look, you can do it, okay? It can be done. And it's like
Yeah.
the bulldozer just keeps rolling. You know what I mean? It's tough, Greg. I'm going to put it over to Greg first, and
Yeah,
then back to you, Don.
yeah. If I knew the answer, I think I would be doing other things than this. But it starts small. Like we've got communication, collaboration with different industry organizations. Our podcast is here for a reason, but we need to build it. We need people around us to help it go. So I don't know the answer other than we got to keep talking about it, and hopefully something comes, and maybe Don's got the ticket. Maybe it's
The
the Yellow Prize
only
that's gonna
listen, the only
turn it.
light at the end of the tunnel was Don that
Yeah.
was there in 2006 when he kicked the whole off, and then and now he's back. He's saying, "Well, you got to go over here." So maybe a new thing will start. Don, before we get your response on this, obviously you're not despondent. Obviously you're not hopeless. Obviously there's things that we can do to make things better. It starts incremental. Do you think the industry is going to turn this thing around? I want to ask you that question for real. Do you think the industry, lighting fixture manufacturers, are going to take a step back and say, back to lamp shapes, back to get the mechanical form factor set? Let's do this.
I don't know. It's a real good question. I think they have to be incentivized to do that, and they've spent tens of millions of dollars converting away from that direction. So it becomes a very bitter pill to swallow to kind of go back into that mode where they're just spitting out extrusions left and right and bending metal. Um, but my instinct is that it's going to take a lot longer. But to kind of answer both those questions up together, I think the key is to get inside to break the top 24 in a lot of lighting specifiers go-to lighting products. So the founders from Pritchard Peck did a great light and a presentation at Light Fair probably a decade ago, but it really stuck with me. And they said basically that designers are busy. They bill in 15-minute increments. They're getting people calling on them all day, so they don't get a chance to finish these specs. So after they put their kids to bed at night, they're opening up their computer and there's 24 products in their head. They know the SKUs by heart that they're going to. They can pull down application photos easy. They can know where the IES files is. They can, get the stuff and go to bed sooner. I think the key is to get a product inside that. Get one product in that's, plastic. And here's an example. Here's like the first prototypes of that I was showing you before.
Mm-hmm.
But, that's all made from reground plastic. This is all completely 100% post-consumer recycled content in that product. So I think if you can get one product into the top 24 and get a second and third and fourth, then there's going to be momentum and people will start responding to it. And these agents out there, the reps say to the manufacturers, we need something to respond to this because we don't have a cross for it, and it'll happen very quickly at that point. But it is a very,
So with your,
I mean, if you look at metal, for example, it's like that's the number one reason a power plant is built today is because of metal refining. So I think a lot of it has to do with messaging as well. Like we have to let people know that, look, it's great that aluminum can get recycled, but is it getting recycled? I mean, how many manufacturers out there are saying this luminaire is made for 100% recycled aluminum? I've never seen it. Why is that if it's so recyclable? So I think different materials, once and I think that's the promise of 3D printing. You can really get people excited about form factors, the ability to easily customize, which is really important today, and
Do you
create
think that it's
alternatives
more
to
likely that
extrusions.
contractors will be reproducing lamp components on site than the industry will standardize on lamp components?
No, I don't. I don't see contractors doing custom stuff on site, and I don't think they need to. I think all the building blocks are out there. We've seen it. We just need to we've seen it in the old paradigm of lighting where the lamps and the fixtures met at the job site. I think we just need to update that and make it more sophisticated and build form factors that are around the strengths of the strengths of the LED technology. I mean, fluorescent, we had this coating, it was Lambertian. There was only so much we could do with that light source. But I think with LEDs, we have all these capabilities. You know, you got these small LEDs that can uh, uh, optic coupling, and you can create these amazing beam patterns, and you can create the perfect solutions for every application out there. And there's no reason why you can't, at the end of the day, back that into a common form factor that twists into, you know, a $1 tombstone, and everybody knows how to work with it.
Hmm.
So going back to the L prize, what phase are we in right now of this, or that
So
you're in?
we're in the prototype phase, the second of 3 phases, and that's due on May 1st. We just submitted a intent to submits this last month, and now it's the last three more months until prototypes are due.
And do you think you said you won one of 4 L prizes? Are the other 3 going to this next phase? You know?
I
No.
don't know. I think, you know, the only company I've followed is Quarkstar, and I saw one of their products, and I saw that it wasn't meeting the minimums for the efficacy. Um, but I'm sure that they've got something up their sleeve. So yeah, I'd be surprised if they didn't try. You're kind of obligated almost, right? If you won the first to try the second.
That's what I was curious. And
I
then
mean,
the third,
you're
if
doing
you win the
something right.
second, yeah. So if you win the second, then you have to do the third. Is that the plan?
You have to, and I'd need some type of partnership or some type of funding because it's going to be a real lift. But the timing, there's more of you know, this was a quick turnaround between the first phase and the prototype. It was just a year, but the timing's a little bit farther out for the third phase.
Hmm.
So what you said
I
you do
think it
some
goes out to 2024.
24. Okay. So you do some
Yeah.
consulting too. Is there anything else you do? What is Earthlighting? What's the other thing you do?
So Earthlighting is yeah, Earthlighting's a company that I'm working with. I get 2 other partners in, and that's really the vehicle for that high end lamp, the T-LED. You know, so
Oh,
but
sure.
Hmm.
it's all in a. I got the idea when I saw a. You know how we're lighting people, so we're kind of cursed. Everywhere we look, we see it through the lens of lighting.
Hmm.
And I was
Yep.
looking at an ad, and it was for a disposable razor that was made out of paper, and I was like, wait a second, what, this disposable razor that's going to be in water? I was like, how? So I read further, and it was like they used water-resistant cardstock, and it was just like one of those earth-shattering moments for me. I'm like, oh my god, got to do that for lighting. So I spent so I was like, I got to make a light out of cardboard, and one of the things what I did when I started going down the rabbit hole and researching how I can make this feasible, is there's lots of incredible research already out there, because one of the things I was worried about was flammability, and in Japan they use cardboard as basic as tatami mats in shelters, in case of earthquakes and things like that, natural disasters. And they were really worried about how could we do this? How could we flame proof these tatami mats without using noxious materials? And they found that there's some off the shelf products that you can use that aren't poisonous, aren't bad for you, that will allow you to flame proof it. Um, and one of the other things I saw was that with cardboard, there's certain perfs that you could do in the cardboard, which one of the reasons why I've gone down the road of putting a bunch of holes in things, because I've been obsessed with this, um, where it absorbs a bunch of the sound for different frequencies. And I knew
Mm.
that sound reduction was huge right now in the lighting industry. So I'm like, all right, so I got to button that in too. So really, Earthlighting is the vehicle for Earthlighting is are these replaceable lamps in what is in effect a paper fixture. But it's really robust. And I mean, the prototypes I have, I can stand on them, and there's no issues. And I'm still not convinced that lighting should be a durable good. I don't know how many people want to look at 30-year-old fixtures in their spaces. Frankly, it's
That's an interesting point. There's the accounting issue, right? So light fixtures are
right.
amortized over 30 years. Why? Well, the old ones used to last 30 years. That's for sure. And in fact, it's longer than that. And Cobra heads and 2x4s have been upgraded from T12 to T8 to T5 to LED. So it depends on the application. But I mean, with the way we're going now, I'm going to agree with you that cardboard is a wonderful building material that's highly underestimated. And in fact, if you Google Michael Colligan U.S. patent, you'll find U.S. patent 9061820B2, which I invented using cardboard. Okay, but I will never patent
Nice.
anything again. What a pain in the ass that is.
Isn't that the
Um,
worst? I mean,
oh,
like talk about like a bad day, like having to put your head in
a
the
bad
patent
6 years.
examiner's. Oh,
If I had
yeah,
the
it's a
time
pain
back,
in the butt.
it's a really expensive trophy that I bought for myself. But anyway, I actually like cardboard as a building material. I think it's way
Yeah,
underestimated, and it's
it
100%
really is.
recyclable, 100% recyclable. I know it doesn't degrade, but there are losses to cardboard as they use it over and over again. But it's actually a very, very good building material that could be used in a lot more applications than we actually use it in. It's lightweight. There's so many. It's very strong when done properly. So yeah, there's a ton of applications for cardboard. Donald, do you have any thoughts here? We went a lot of directions today.
Yeah,
Obviously, you're a
no,
lighting legend. Any final thoughts for the Get a Grip on Lighting people?
no. I'd love to. I'd love to. Yeah, I'd love to talk more with you guys, but I'd love to be able to. I'll send you guys some stuff and have people reach out to me. Like I said, this is open source, so in that spirit, I'd like to get feedback from people that would benefit from this and start to get some feedback and make changes. Try to get into the Yale Prize. I mean, just do it because it's a really cool thing, and the more the merrier. And other than that, start looking for alternatives. Don't think that it has to be an aluminum extrusion. Just open your mind and think about different ways of doing this thing we call lighting.
Donald Peifer, Greg Garrett, the man, the myth, the legend. But you know what? Before we go, we got to talk about the gangsters, buddy. That's right.
Oh,
Down at Satco. That's right. Go to satco.com, baby. They do the light thing. They do the right thing, Greg Eric. We're talking starfish. Ooh.
Starfish, yeah, and connection. So no matter where you are in the world, you can see your lights that are connected to starfish from your phone, right? Control it, make sure they're working, make sure nobody's messing around with your house. Change colors, do what you need, all from a phone.
Go to satco.com. That's satco.com, and the National Association of Innovative Lighting Distributors. That's NAILD.org. Membership drive. We've recorded this on January 31st, probably coming out beginning of February, something like that, folks. We got 6 in the books right now. Why not join us? He talked about our sustainability committee led by Brian Huff. It's not just Colligan and Eric, buddy. There's lots of guys. Amundsen, Huff, Nafus. Don't let me forget anybody. Matt Thiesing with the Dark Skies and all the great letters that Nailed has put out. We're doing a lot of great work. And you distributors out there, you always underestimate yourself. You're always listening to everybody else. You're always taking lunch and learns from your manufacturers. Those manufacturers don't know shit. Okay? In the old days, they used to have knowledge. Okay? But now the average lighting distributor is the smartest person in the industry when it comes to valuable street knowledge. So join NAILD, which is your voice. That's the National Association of Innovative Lighting Distributors. NAILD.org. And of course, Don Peifer. Like I said, the man, the myth, the legend was back in 2006 making 2x2 flat panels, sucker. Can't beat that. If you've made it to the end. We don't have listeners. We only have colleagues that don't do podcasts. Thanks for listening. Bye for now.